All right, so this is a Sassani channeling session, June 13th, Thursday. All right, we are happy to be able to interact with you at this moment. We would like to make ourselves available to you in whatever way you desire.
Who am I speaking with?
You are speaking with a collective branch of the Sassani civilization. We are working as a small team, a task force, you could say, that visits different regions of your Earth to make certain adjustments to the natural frequencies that exist within these areas. I am one of the leaders of this project, and this is my personal unit.
Are you called Riok?
That is the name I have given the channel to use to address me directly.
Are you saying you are multiple people though?
I myself am one being as I experience my normal day-to-day existence, you could say. But within that, knowing I am one complete being, I am also aware of the infinite beings I have been.
Okay. And can you tell me what things you do on the Sassani culture as far as what you do? Are you on a ship? Are you on
Yes.
land?
I myself am typically on my ship. However, we do journey in a way that allows for us to dock to port at different locations for a variety of different purposes, sometimes for the trading of resources or for the attending of certain events, you could say, certain gatherings. And we will bring our craft to different locations. However, when we are interacting with your Earth, we generally are utilizing the point of view of ourselves from a craft, which is slightly symbolic of the actual energetic environment we are in when we interact with your Earth. It is perceived on your end as if we are in crafts. However, this is just a symbolic translation of the actual spiritual reality that we are in that is interacting with your Earth.
So you're saying people that have had UFO experiences and they see the ships, possibly they're not seeing exactly ships, but it is an energetic.
Yes, they're actually witnessing a symbol. Typically, this is something you could reflect upon as in when you're waking up from a dream and you can't remember all the details, but you remember certain images, certain pictures. These are reflecting symbols to greater concepts that you are exploring within the dream world. The same can be said for many people that actually see craft. The memory of a ship is oftentimes just a symbol that is then used to represent a deeper relationship, a deeper exchange of energy. Sometimes this can actually be individuals teleporting, you could say, shifting their point of view into that extraterrestrial reality in a way that's very immersive, in a way where they are able to learn seemingly automatically lessons from that culture upon this type of energy exchange. Lessons that have been handed down generationally, so when the being then walks away from the encounter, they feel very changed, they feel very altered, they feel as if they have a greater understanding of life. And this is actually a psychic transfer of information that usually will consist of lessons that have been culturally and historically passed down through whatever extraterrestrial species is interacting with that individual.
So you're saying this is sort of like a new download for that person?
Yes, absolutely. And whatever is in that download will be oftentimes reflective of the society they're working with. So different ones will have different themes, different lessons to share with the individuals whom they encounter.
And thus, would you say, seeing different shaped crafts?
Yes, absolutely. So this will represent the different societies. Yes.
Okay. And what type of craft would your societies look like?
Ours is triangular in its appearance in your reality.
Any significance behind why it's triangular?
It represents an aspect of what you call humanity and the human psyche in relationship to different levels, different ways of thinking. In the triangle in this way represents the harmony between three major psychological components of a person. You have the physical mind, you have the physical brain, and you have what's called the higher mind, these all representing 3 points on the triangle. And when they work together, you get the structure of the triangle, you get the three forces then working together that allow for a fully functioning human psyche, human perceptive tool, and human brain.
So this trinity is kind of, would you say, coming up as a kind of, how do we say, symbol throughout Earth's existence?
Yes, absolutely. It represents this idea of harmony as well as expansion, in terms of the energetics of the actual shape itself, the triangle. And we apply it again in this uniquely human fashion of ways of harmonizing thinking, thought processes, and the harmonious ways one can perceive reality through understanding those types of relationships, such as, again, physical mind, physical brain, and the higher mind.
Okay. And what ports have you recently docked at? Like, which civilizations?
We have gone to your moon quite a few times, as there are beings of interest to us there.
Can you tell us who they are?
We cannot reveal their name at this moment, but we can tell you that it is a bit of a hotspot. It is a hub. You would understand it's equivalent to be an international airport, you could say. It is a highly visited place for a variety of reasons. It yields information relevant to the emotional aspects of consciousness within your Earth as well as within the solar system. And oftentimes beings will go here for inspiration. They will go here to essentially take classes where they can learn about these different emotional energies and how they can be transformed, how they can be utilized. So this moon also is a place where there are different cultures that are thriving, and these cultures like to explore things like art and music, the idea of using emotional energy for transformation and for creating beauty and landscapes. This is one of the reasons we go there, mainly so we are able to understand the more emotional point of view of your civilization, of your human society, and this then allows for us to understand more of your greater picture, as when we see more of this information, we get to see more of you that is not always available to us. So we went here for this purpose in particular. And the beings whom we were interacting with were the ones who were assisting us in being able to access this information, as well as how to more creatively play with this information, play with this emotional energy.
Okay. Well, it's interesting you say the moon is connected to emotional aspects because women tend to, off any sort of contraception, cycle with the moon. Also, in stories, werewolves come out at a full moon. Is there any reason why humans would then believe in this energy? Is there something behind it?
Yes, there is much behind it, and it has been used differently by different cultures, because every culture on your world that has some type of energetic relationship with the moon will utilize that relationship in a way that's reflective of the needs of that individual culture. So many beings will actually have different stories, different relationships, and different tools that they use for understanding and interacting with the moon. Understand, though, because this is so prevalent in all of your cultures worldwide, every culture understands to varying degrees that the moon has some significance, it has some energy, it has some function, some role it's playing with your world. And the reason the moon stories are all very unique, very different from different cultures, show you that you can interact with the moon in all of these different ways. It's helping you build a collective image of what the moon's energy represents and what is doable through a relationship with the moon. What we will say is this, though, that the werewolf in many ways represents the idea of complete and total change, complete and total transformation, going from something that is known, such as a human form, something you have spent your whole life in, manifesting into something that is wild, not something that you understand very well. And this is reflecting a psychological shift, a psychological energetic change through this imagery. There are other symbols that this represents as well, other themes that this represents as well. The idea of spiritual abilities such as shape-shifting, but not limited to this, are also amplified by certain celestial and cosmic events, the full moon being one of them.
So you're sort of saying like a snake shedding its skin, becoming something that's new.
It can be used this way, yes.
Okay, interesting. So Riok, if I'm speaking to you now, where's your body? Like, how are you? Are you asleep with your other body? Where is your other body?
My other body, my only body in this way, in terms of a body I'm spending most of my time in, is located on my craft. And this conversation that we are having right now is mediated through a link between myself and the channel sitting in front of you. He is essentially in a relaxed state physiologically, and he has shifted his internal perspective to be very similar to my internal perspective, my internal mechanism. And because of this shared resonance between our states of being, it allows for this link to be really just an extension of his mind.
So would he be able to talk to you then and the people on your civilization?
Yes, and he oftentimes does.
Interesting. And does he? What does he say to you guys? Or get what advice or sort of insight has he given your civilization?
The channel.
Mm-hmm.
He has showed us in many ways how we can let go of ideas about history, understanding that histories can lock you in and of a sense, to a particular path. When you say that this is the way something has always been this way, this is our history and it is fixed, it creates a present moment that will always have some influence from that fixed history. So in other words, you'll be using that energy of whatever you say your history was to then create more of your present. But if you can let go of the idea of the history being something not fixed, something that's changing, just as when you are looking at what's in front of you, you have no idea what's behind you. It's always changing. It could be anything when you turn around. Understanding your history is the same way. It actually quantumly shifts to a different history depending, of course, upon the vibration you are in the now. That's what determines what type of history you actually generate spontaneously in the moment. He has shown us how far one can take that. Understanding that all points of view about history, of the past, no matter how solid, no matter how real it is, you can always interject, you can always introduce more mystery, more unknowns, more greater potential for little details you did not see. He has been utilizing this in a variety of different areas in his own personal life, and he has shown us how extensive this point of view can be utilized. And we have found this to be incredibly useful, for there are many beings in the universe who are settling conflicts that have existed for eons because they view the other person as someone who has wronged them in the past. They view the society in resonance with its perceived history. So they look at the society and say, look at what you have done. We cannot forgive you. However, when the point of view of them being a new being in the moment, therefore they have a new past, is introduced, it allows for these types of resolutions to take place much more harmoniously, because each individual becomes more focused on who both parties are in the moment.
that makes sense. So with this quantum energy, you say that helps people shift their history and the view. Is that you talked about earlier being related to moons having some sort of energetic fields, helping other planets also shift, not only just Earth. Is there other things on Earth that can help create this quantum energy to help shift things?
Yes. Understand that there are different locations on your Earth that you could say are power centers. These are locations that when there is enough psychic energy being directed at the power centers, it allows for a greater harmonizing with the technology, you could say, of your planet, and how your planet's technology relates to your collective consciousness, and how your collective consciousness shifts your entire society to different parallel versions of the universe. So understanding that these sacred sites, when they are activated in a particular way, you could say is based in love, with individuals and by individuals, together with individuals whom are emanating that vibration, it will affect your planet's relationship with, which you understand to be extraterrestrial life or non-physical life altogether, because it will shift the collective consciousness to that direction. And the collective consciousness will become more positive, it will become more open to these types of interactions. So there are multiple locations that can serve this function.
Can you describe any of these locations?
Yes, you would understand many of them to be places where there is teeming life.
What do you mean by teeming life?
I mean life where you could say you have plants, you have animals that are growing and thriving in a harmony with one another. Whenever you see that, you understand that you are getting close to these sites. There are multiple ones located within your Amazon, within your jungles. There are ruins on some of these sites. Many of your ancient societies intentionally put temples there, intentionally put ruins there. So daily practice with these sites could be done to create a unique version of Earth that would be in resonance with the type of energy generated at these sites.
Would any of these civilizations happen to be any pyramids?
Yes.
Were any pharaohs actually buried in pyramids?
Yes.
What was the purpose?
It was to create a continuation of the lineage through the body being immersed in the pyramid structure. It allowed for the downloading of the knowledge contained within the pyramid to then be downloaded into the physicalized body. Understanding that this would create a link between the pharaoh, who you could say has passed into spirit, with his physical vessel, allowing for him to still be able to have a strong degree of influence within the physical reality experience after having deceased. This would ensure that as the crown, you could say, was passed from one generation to the next, there would be harmony in the kingdom, there would be harmony in the environment, because that pharaoh's influence would still be physically rooted in, and the pyramid structures would help with this.
Is this just another way to go to the highest level of Taoism?
It is one version of what you are referring to. It is one version of that. It's more like that is one application of that. Because understand that that's not all these pharaohs could do, because at a very young age they were esoterically trained, so that way when they went into spirit they would have many options available to them. But that type of relationship with the physical body is just but one of the many expressions that they had access to, one of the many actions they had access to from that spiritualized point of view.
Okay. So you talked earlier about like plants and places that are living in harmony, plants and animals, having some sort of energetic space. Are these plants here to teach us? Are there plant beings? Can you divulge a little bit more?
Yes. Your plants are here to teach you, and that's why you have the term for them, plant teachers, that you all like to use so much when you talk about them. And it's because you understand what they are doing. They are the master teachers native to your earth, understanding that all worlds have elements of teachers. Understanding that whenever you have an advanced civilization, you will always have aspects of that civilization that are collecting the generational knowledge and wisdom, the lessons, the understanding. They are collecting this and they are distributing this and they are sharing this. The earth in that way is no different. The earth as its own being has gone through so much change and transformation hand in hand with your civilizations.
And what is the plant's spiritual connection to the earth? Like, what is their message?
Well, this is exactly what we're getting into. So they are, in that way, what we are describing as the scribes, you could say, the master teachers, who are collecting the lessons of each of the generations. And when people then of your time consume them, the plant is able to guide them using your ancestry, using your collective ancestry. It is able to bring you to other points of view that have happened within what you call your past and some of your more ancient histories. It tunes you in to those points of view where you are able to go through many of the same lessons that you are going through in your current moment. So it's actually showing you ancestral and past life moments where you have transcended many of your challenges, so you're able to then go back into that energetic state while you are in the altered state with the plant. So you then actually are able to do that work, that shifting from that spirit world point of view. And then when you fully return in that way to your connection to your body physically, and you are no longer in the altered state, it then allows for that to begin to crystallize into your reality, and your reality will shift to follow suit of what you did while you were in the spirit world.
It's interesting you say that because right now ayahuasca and mushrooms are and peyote are in our society for like healing some sort of opioid addictions going on. Can you tell us then what this plant energy and how it's actually shifting the brains of people addicted to these things to possibly come off of them?
Yes, it is working on a variety of different biochemical mechanisms within their brain related to dopamine, serotonin, some of your more popular understandings of neurotransmitters. It is in particular targeting the hormonal centers of the body, the glands, you could say, that secrete major hormones. It is targeting these centers in a way that is allowing for different regenerative effects to take place. These centers are located in the various regions of the body aligned with the spine. And it is also working in that way with your chakra system. It is helping to physically clean out the hormonal glands, and it is also working to affect what you call your vital life force and its movement through the spine, passing through the energy centers, passing through chakras. And it is working on this level with the body. It is also affecting the brain in many ways that allow for the brain to function as one brain. It puts the brain in a state where all of the different compartments, the components of your physical brain start to interact as if they are one system, which is a very powerful state. And this is a very powerful symbol and message for your world, understanding the brain working as one thing.
So you're merging again as the subconscious with the conscious.
Yes, exactly, precisely. Understanding that the brain being looked at as left brain and right brain, creative brain and analytical brain, are showing your society a hang-up you have in relationship to the idea of duality, right and wrong, good and bad, black and white, this and that. Understanding that your actual view of the brain is being shown by your plant teachers to not necessarily be the only state it can exist in. It can exist as one brain working harmoniously together. So the plant teachers are showing your scientists through diagrams of how the brain works, how a brain can work daily, how a brain can work normally. It's showing you, in and of a sense, what you could understand to be a healthy functioning brain and nervous system.
So if humans just began to believe from early child that their brain worked this way, we got rid of this misconception that there was this duality, would we be in a better state? You
would have a state of much greater health and understanding collectively in your society of what it is to live in love.
Okay.
Because when you begin to use what you call the creative aspects and merge it with the analytical aspects, you get a creative way to live your life that still has some logic built around it, so you can decipher the patterns of how to live your life in that way. That's what the logic helps you to do. It helps you to see the order and the patterns that exist within the raw, creative, flowing energy. So when you have left and right brain together, you still have the analytical mind, but working out of love to identify the patterns within the change, within the creative brain, you could say, so you can bring them together and then live your life through that point of view.
Okay. Makes a lot of sense. So you talked about earlier about places that are harmonious with animal and plants. What type of energy and like would it need to be there? Is it holographic? Is there some sort of download? Like, can you describe like what energetically is going on there?
Yet in these places, you are having essentially data transfer taking place between that aspect of the earth as well as different aspects of what you call non-physical realities or physical realities that are just far away, interacting psychically with that particular region of the earth. The earth is then allowing for different bits of information, different vibrations of light that is unique to each of those intelligences that are communicating psychically at this location on the earth with the earth. It allows for different frequencies of light from these societies to then come into the earth, so the earth can then begin to change and evolve in unique ways that are relevant to these other societies sharing energy. Sometimes it's other planets, sometimes it is other animal beings, sometimes it is other humanoid beings, sometimes it is different star consciousnesses. The idea is this point represents a hub where these other consciousnesses can then share with the earth. And the earth will take this information in and begin to apply it to the trees, to the fungi, to the basic building blocks of that ecosystem, the placeholders of it, you could say, the ones that help to stabilize it so it can generate different matrices that exist within it. It allows for these structures to then take in this light, take in this energy, and it allows for the forest to become updated. It allows for what you call the cosmic updates of different regions of space to then reach the earth in this one location. So it is what you would call the leading edge of where your universe is going. Mm-hmm. That information is accessed from these points. There are different matrices that are then integrated and change and evolve in relationship to this light coming into the points. And you would understand this to be entire holographic civilizations that exist within your forests, and in particular these sites we are describing. These are what you'd call to be the spirit worlds of your forests. This is where some of the mythical forest beings you describe actually live, you could say. They live in this layer of reality that is stabilized and generated by the light that is entering into the planet from these points. And when you have abundance of trees, when you have abundance of nature, it allows for more of this layer of spiritualized earth consciousness to then exist on the earth. So in other words, the more forest you have, the more of the spiritual aspects of your planet you will also have access to, because it will allow for these civilizations, which you call forest spirits, to then build their society, because the energetic infrastructure that is that matrix will be present.
So are you telling me possibly that if we had more forestry, we could possibly see unicorns?
Yes, as well as what you call alien beings,
okay,
as well as what you call to be some of your extinct species that aren't actually extinct, but
like
they have
woolly
shifted.
mammoths?
Yes, many of these beings still exist, but they have ascended into a different vibration of your earth. They have not necessarily left, and that's why you still have their echoes in your biology sciences.
Okay.
That's why the connections are still present in your mainstream culture, because that being is still here. It is just existing in that more non-physical point of view.
What about mermaids?
These beings are also present on your world, understanding that many of these beings exist. It is simply your awareness that limits how much of them you can allow in. And understanding that it is through the altering of your awareness in whatever way you wish to allow for it to become more free, more open, more grounded, more representative of who you are. The more of these beings you'll be able to see at the moments where it is most relevant for you to see them.
So let me see if I'm interpreting what you're saying. So if someone gets their chakras aligned, you're now perceiving the world on a different energetic basis. Therefore, you can then see things that are energetically not perceivable in a mind that did not open their complete chakra.
Correct.
Okay. Quick question for you. Star seeds are kind of a like hot topic, hot word that parents use to describe like ADHD kids. How would you describe what a starseed is?
We would describe it as an individual who has had many incarnations in a particular extraterrestrial society, sometimes within stars, sometimes within planets. And the idea is they've had so many experiences, their soul has gone there so many times, that they take on many aspects of that society and its culture and the different aspects of themselves as the greater being who has incarnated there so many times. When that being then chooses to incarnate into Earth, they are then, in that sense, a starseed. But understand that those beings can also be a star seed in another extraterrestrial culture altogether. It does not have to be Earth. So a star seed is just someone who's had many of those experiences from a particular off-world society, maybe on their own native planet or within stars, and they are then just incarnating into a different extraterrestrial culture.
Okay. And how would you say like starseeds' relationships with their parents are usually?
Depends on the culture who is receiving them. There are some cultures in other worlds that the understanding of who that soul is, where they have come from, is carried into the moment, and the parents are actually aware of it before the child is actually born. And this is a relationship many societies have with one another, and they'll communicate in dreams or in different altered states of consciousness where that relationship can be built. So when the child is born, there is complete understanding of the child's journey from those other points of view, and what themes are then relevant for the child in its current incarnation. Even on your Earth, there are cultures that accept star seeds, gifted children in this way, with wide open arms. And they help to guide them, help to train them, they help to do what they can to allow for the child to blossom in the best way possible. You will also, too, have the opposing, you could say, the contrary experience, because that is a theme your world likes to explore. If it's going to be very positive somewhere, oftentimes you'll create the point of view of it being very negative somewhere else. And understand, the opposite also exists, where these beings come in and they are going through their awakening process of who they are in a culture that does not necessarily promote that type of behavior, and it can make those experiences much more turbulent because that individual is showing the culture and those who are witnessing them what it is to go through a transformation, even when it looks like no one else is believing in you, not even the environment. So it is also of service to other people who are waking up in those cultures, because it's showing you that, hey, even though there's all this limitation around you, you can still evolve, you can still become yourself, you can still wake up. And that's often why many other starseeds will incarnate into cultures where there is a lot of resistance, to show those who believe that you cannot become yourself, you cannot be happy in these locations, that it is in fact possible.
So sort of self-sacrificing in a way.
In a way, you could say that, but only temporarily, because nothing is truly sacrificed in vain.
Meaning that there will be a greater good.
Of course, yes.
Any other things you would like to share with us?
At this moment in time, we would like to thank both of you for your eagerness in allowing for this information to come through. It brings our society great joy to be able to share many of the ideas with you that you are all excited about, because the more excited each of you are with your content, with your questions, as you then bring it to us, we will give you information, we will give you understandings that are a complete reflection of that joy and excitement you bring to the table. So we thank you for both strategizing and working together in this unique way that is producing this type of co-created conversation with all of us and you.
Thank you.
You are quite welcome. Our unconditional love to you, and we thank you for this interaction.